Bonjour, mon chéri fairies! Let's get out of this human world together and go to the fairy realm because I was off for 2 weeks. I had my birthday and I don't feel bad at all. This week we're going to talk about all the different species of fairy trees. All in the land of Fae, there are variations of fairy trees. Most of the time where you find trees, they're going to be fairy trees because they're magical. Every single tree is magical. I mean, in its own way. But throughout mythology, folklore, human religion, there are a staggering amount of trees. Let's say we've stumbled into the realm of Fae. There are a few very important trees that you should know. The Holy Trinity in Celtic belief is of the oak, the ash, and the hawthorn. These three together are used in rituals across different religions and different beliefs, but the three of them together are supposed to be incredibly powerful in their magic. Okay, let's start out by talking about the oak, the great oak tree. The oak tree is majestic and brilliant and has very long leafy branches. It grows extremely tall. Its roots sometimes come out of the ground and snake along the dirt. The oak is considered to aid in fertility and in good fortune and in financial success. The oak is also said to be haunted by the oakmen. So oakmen are a variety of fairy that are seen in the branches that are cut from an oak. So in the stub, you will see the face of an oakman. An oakman can also be found in the roots of the oak tree. The temperament of an oakman is they don't have a single ounce of patience. They're not going to wait for you at all. In fact, the oakmen that are located in the roots of the oak tree commonly bite the feet off of travelers who are just walking by. I mean, can you imagine? You're just enjoying your stroll, you're walking by a big, beautiful oak tree, and bam! Your foot is in the mouth of an oak man. They're just gonna nibble on your toes. That doesn't sound like fun. But the oak in the realm of Fae sometimes has oakmen in the branches that are cut and in the roots. So watch yourself. The ash tree is known in Greek mythology as being the tree of life, or Yggdrasil. I really hope I'm saying that right. I apologize if I'm not. The ash tree represents wisdom, knowledge, and divination. It's said that if you place an ash tree branch in your pocket, you will have good fortune. Also, if you place ash berries in your child's crib, a fairy won't come and change your child with theirs, which is known as a changeling. So you'll never not have your human baby changed with a fairy baby, which happens frequently in the land of Fae. In some Druidic belief, they think that having an ash cane connects a human to the world above, or heaven and earth. So like the sky and earth. If you have an ash walking stick, it's considered to be that connection between heaven and earth, or sky and earth. Makes me really want an ash walking stick. Nobody go out and harvest wood unless they have permission from their local forest service, please. Okay. The hawthorn shrub is known to be an abode to fairies. They love living in that hawthorn bush. The hawthorn is also considered to be a May tree used in a lot of celebrations for May Day. It's also known in Gaelic as Sigitchaith. I'm so sorry for pronouncing it wrong if I do. There is a tale of a Scottish poet named Thomas the Rhymer who met the Queen of Fairies at a hawthorn shrub. And the queen loved him so much and his poetry, she took him into the realm of Fae. And then somehow he got away and he escaped back into the mortal world. He lost 7 years in the land of Fae. The time slips that occur in fairy abductions, I guess you could say, fairy kidnapping, fairy realm traveling is pretty massive. So if you ever travel to the realm of Fae, understand that you might not be coming back for a good many years, okay? You are not to cut the branches of a hawthorn shrub. It's actually considered extremely bad luck that you will get the wrath of the fairy folk who lived in the bush. In May, the shrub is used in many May Day celebrations around England or Anglo-Saxon cultures. The hawthorn is considered bad luck to have in your house. I believe that it probably stemmed from the smell that comes from a hawthorn bush after you cut it. So after you cut a hawthorn branch, it emits a smell that's kind of like rotting flesh. So a lot of people don't like having it in their home. And then later on, a botanist discovered that smell that was from the chemical trimethylene, and that trimethylene is found in the bodies of rotting animals. So when you cut a hawthorn branch, it actually smells like death. Pierre Dubois wrote that in one story, there's an instance of a fairy sequoia being cut down and sewn up. So it's chopped up into a whole bunch of bits and pieces. And later, the splinters of that sequoia came back to life and became little revenge monsters who wanted to go after whoever took down the sequoia. There's also fairy trees that are considered to be humans transformed into fairies, either as a punishment or a reward. Pierre Dubois also wrote in a story that there were two lovers who were underneath an oak, a fairy oak, and they declared their eternal love for each other. And the fairy oak was so moved that it turned the two lovers into twin trees that were upon a hill. And so that they could live for way longer and have their love for each other much longer. And then at night, you can hear the trees whispering to each other. The habitat of a tree can be pretty much anywhere a normal tree grows, a fairy tree could be there. Some are said to be growing alone on hillsides or landscapes, and then they are surrounded by a circle of rocks. So that's a fairy tree identifier. Some have little pieces of cloth on them. There's an old legend that states if you were sick, pre-vaccinations, pre-penicillin, pre-easily accessible medical help, that if you were sick, you could tear off a piece of your clothing or string and go to a fairy tree, tie it to the tree, and as soon as the little cloth began to disintegrate, the cure for your disease would be imminent. Please do not go pollute your cloth or your strings onto trees in the forest. I mean, if you see a string in the forest, it's probably there for a reason, and the Forest Service is taking care of it. And there's some forests where you can go into and unalive yourself, and those forests have strings that are following the bodies, if you know about that forest. Okay, anyways, most trees are nice, some trees are bad. Please identify the fairy tree, understand the fairy tree before you engage with the fairy tree. Oaks have dangerous roots. Hawthorns can smell like death. Ash can connect you from sky to earth. They all have really cool powers, okay? So let's look at the human history of trees and how we came into believing that they were magical. Trees have existed in folklore mythology for a very long time. Most religions have a sacred tree. There's a sacred fig in Buddhism, the tree of life in Christianity. In Gaelic and German belief, there is tree spirits, and the Egyptian Book of the Dead mentions sycamores that are located in the deceased fields of blissful repose. There's the baobab trees in Madagascar that are incredibly tall and have giant thick trunks. They are believed to house the spirits of ancestors and family members. The baobab tree has fruit that are heavy in antioxidants like polyphenol, vitamin C, fiber, and calcium. There is a Tanzalinde tree, or dance tree. It was utilized in the judicial courtroom of the Holy Roman Empire. It's also called Gerlichlinde, which is German for court linden. I apologize if I didn't say the German correctly. They're considered a connection of earth and heaven. The Tanzalinde tree branches are so big. They are so big and they come out so far from the tree that they have to be supported by scaffolding because they're so large. The native people of the Americas also have a very rich cultural tradition with trees. The Wabanaki tribe craft baskets. Wabanaki tribe. I apologize if I pronounce that wrong. They used to craft baskets from ash splints, and they actually have a traditional story of human being creation from the black ash tree. The Ponca tribe, which is one of the Great Plains tribes, have a green ash that they use the wood of in their sacred sun dance poles. The Bodhi tree is mentioned in Buddhism. It is known as the tree that Buddha sat and meditated under for 4 straight nights. These nights were called the 4 watches of the night, and it was 2,400 years ago. These nights below the Bodhi tree are said to be what helped Buddha go to nirvana, to transform and meditate into nirvana. Pop culture. In Tolkien's literary world, there are 2 trees of Valinor, which were there at the creation of Middle-earth. Their names are Telperinon and Loralin. These 2 trees are the source of light for Middle-earth. There's also the Ent, or Entings, of Tolkien's literary Lord of the Rings world. They are shepherds of the forest. The most popular is Treebeard, who we see in the film and we read about in the book. Treebeard is known to be the oldest creature of Middle-earth. Unfortunately, there are no Entwives or female Ents because all of them were lost after a very large war. The Disney Pocahontas movie features Grandma Willow. Grandma Willow is very wise. She is an ancient creature. In Dungeons and Dragons, there are known awakened trees, which are powerful and magical as well. I might be missing some more pop culture, so if you have any pop culture trees that you know about and you want me to know about, drop them down in the comment section. I want to know about all the magical trees. Au revoir, mon chéri fairies. Thank you for tuning in to Fairy Fridays. I hope that fairy trees got you super excited about looking outside and seeing that every tree is magical in their own way.